Mozambique's President Filipe Nyusi and the Renamo leader Ossufo Momade have signed a peace accord to end years of hostilities that followed the 15-year civil war. Thousands of fighters will now disarm just weeks before a visit by Pope Francis and a national election set for October.
President Nyusi and Momade shook hands and embraced after the signing. Renamo fought a brutal 16-year civil war against the Frelimo government that left 1 million people dead.
Fresh clashes then erupted again between government forces and Renamo soldiers from 2013 to 2016. More than 5,000 Renamo fighters will surrender their weapons.
Well, they will then be integrated into Mozambique's army and police forces. Pope Francis' visit next month will aim to promote reconciliation in the southern African country.
Political analyst and commentator Egidio Vaz is in Maputo, Mozambique, and he joins us via Skype for more on the story. Egidio, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on The Globe.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Egidio, Renamo fighters start disarming as part of Mozambique's peace deal. How sure is everyone that they will completely disarm?
Well, that's very good questions. There are completely good reasons for such optimism. First, because this is actually, let's just recall a bit and going back to the history. This is unfinished business. From 1992, when the peace accord was struck, and according to the peace accord, 150 men should have been kept away from demobilization to serve as Renamo's leaders' security guard. But now there are more than, as you well said, more than 5,000. Specifically, there are 5,200 men that have surrendered their weapons. First. Second, and going directly to your question, is that almost all claims and all issues that were tabled by Renamo since 1992 are now finally dealt with and are now resolved. I will mention a couple of them. First, Renamo was, since 1992, Renamo's idea and Renamo's proposal was that governors, provincial governors, should be elected, and the party that could win in a province should nominate his provincial governor. So this is the very first time that we are going to hold elections in October 15th, where for the first time in our democracy, governors will come from the party that will take the province. This is the first. The second the issue is that Renamo insisted that officials that were integrated in 1992 in the army and in the police were deliberately and systematically marginalized. So Renamo also wanted reintegration of its men into the police as well as in the army. This has also been dealt with. Third, is that Renamo wanted a more representation, a significant representation into the electoral bodies. So that has also been dealt with. So almost everything that has been used by Renamo as an excuse to continue in the bush, actually, and thanks God, all those issues have been actually dealt with. On top of that, the parliament has just passed an amnesty law that also makes it possible that all those who have been involved into this conflict are actually irresponsible for their acts. So we have now a complete legal a legal framework that makes it possible that Renamo finally disarms and part of these 5,000 men will be, some of them will be integrated into defense and security bodies, and some of them will have to definitely be demobilized. So, in short, these are the key issues and key pointers that makes me very confident that this will be the final and the successful demobilization and demilitarization of Renamo.
We've seen in the past when there was a peace deal that was signed and agreed to, and the Renamo, in agreement with the government, still kept a military wing in their party. Do you think that this will be totally dissolved? And are we going to see all the military men, as you mentioned, the 5,000 plus, coming down from the Gorongosa mountain to be integrated into the system of the government, which is the police and the army? And then also, what happens to the people who are not, or the soldiers of the military wing who are not integrated into the official system of the army of Mozambique and of the police?
Yes, definitely. I've already mentioned that there will be some sort of selection, because actually some of them will be willing to go home, definitely, and those ones will be set free and to go home with their reintegration package and also integrated into the social security or pension system. So that they also have an income until the end of their lives. This is what will happen for those not willing to integrate into the defense and security forces. So
now, sorry, just to come in there to cut you off, Egidio, we are pressed for time. But with regards to the peace deal, is there any fine print that everyone should be on the lookout for?
Well, yeah, definitely that. I think that we have Renamo leadership definitely willing to end up with that, with its army wing. Why? Because Renamo has already recognized that it keeps some additional logistical and financial pressure to have those ones. Second, most of them are more or less older and willing to retire now. Although Renamo has actually recruited in the past, in the last years, additional ones, but definitely the majority of those ones are actually willing to either retire or to be actually integrated into the system. So I think, and I can see the willingness from both the leadership as well as their own the own individual soldiers also doing that. I mean, in the last, for example, I'll just give you an example. The demobilization is actually taking place in three regions: southern region, central region, as well as in the northern region. And as far as I know, many of them are actually floating to the centers where actually they are surrendering their firearms, as well as waiting for the next steps. So definitely, I think this is a different approach that President Nyusi has actually taken, starting from the way he actually negotiated all these deals personally and with no intermediary. So I think that's the novelty.
Now, this disarmament comes 2 months ahead of a general election. What do preparations for the poll look like so far?
Pardon, I didn't get your question.
I was just trying to find out from you with regards to the preparations for the elections. The disarmament has taken place. It's 2 months ahead of a general election. What are the preparations for the polls looking like?
Well, definitely, these are two separate processes. The disarmament process will have to end until by August 21st. electoral bodies as well as political parties are also preparing. Actually, today was the final day where political parties had to submit their party list to the electoral bodies. And as far as I know, the process is actually smoothly going very well. Both Renamo, Frelimo, MDM, and other parties have already confirmed their participation into this force, and the pre-campaign actually is underway actually since yesterday. So what actually is key here, and the next step, I think, is the major challenge now, is for government to raise money for to fund the reintegration process. I think that the next step from the disarmament process will be like a sort of an international donor conference to raise some funds in order to finance and defray the costs arising from the DDR, disarmament, mobilization, and reintegration process.
Now, Egidio, finally, just very quickly, 1 month before Pope Francis' visit to Mozambique, where is he expected to pray for peace and national reconciliation? And is Mozambique ready for reconciliation?
Well, reconciliation is key, definitely. And I think Pope's visit will be additional and will be like a booster to that end. We've been under fire almost since 1975, and then because Renamo War broke 2 years after independence, and then we've been living in this situation for too long. I think that people's readiness to reconcile is there, and I also believe that it's a process where political, economical, and social issues, particularity will be taken to. I think development will play its real key role to actually include those marginalized into economy, fairness in the wealth distribution, developmental policies that also take care of the marginalized. So it's a process, definitely. I don't think that it will be like so quick, because we have to heal the wounds of these wars, these 3 wars, actually. And what I can confirm now is that people's willingness to reconcile and to get rid of this conflict is there, and the momentum as well is there. And we are actually lucky to have President Nyusi, who is spearheading and giving an example of how reconciliation should actually be implemented with acts, with facts, with actions, affirmative actions, and he is leading by example.
Now, Egidio, where is Pope Francis expected to pray for peace and reconciliation in Mozambique?
He will in Maputo. He will actually pray in Maputo on September 5th, if I'm not mistaken, because his visit is from 4 to 6 September.
Egidio, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure. That's political analyst and commentator Egidio Vaz, and he was joining us via Skype from Mozambique.